Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the session. We'll be going live on the session in 7 minutes. So just hang in there with us. At the top of the hour, we'll go live with Ruth Kamau, as well as Pauline, the president of OWIT Kenya. So again, while we are still there, write your questions and tell us who you are and where you're coming from. And in the culture of OWIT, start networking and connecting to each other on the chat. Use the chat right below. Just tell us about yourself and where you're joining us from so that we can know a little bit more about you. We'll be going live in the next 6 minutes with Pauline and just Ruth and this exciting Africa Day. And happy Africa Day to you all.
For the first time in South Africa,
a live performance mid-flight at 30,000 feet. To kick off this groundbreaking innovation is 27-year-old Divine Mahara. This is also the former Zimbabwe's Got Talent winner's first ride on a plane ever.
Is a journey. We are all traveling. Kure kwanda kavai koi. Here I have been traveling. Life is a journey. We are still traveling. Kure kwandi no entai koi. We are all still traveling. Kanango mayorira natso terera iwe. Voda izira ngome natso pembera. Upenye udukuduku mwanawe. Recollect my friend. Kanango mayorira natso terera. Kanango mayorira natso terera iwe. Voda izira ngome natso pembera. Upenye udukuduku mwanawe. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira natso terera. Life is a journey. Yeah, we are all traveling. Kure kwanda kavai koi. Here I have been traveling. Whole life is a journey. We are still traveling. Kure kwati no endai koi. Yeah, we are all still traveling. Kanango mayorira natso terera iwe. Voda izira ngome natso pembera iwe. Upenye udukuduku mwanawe. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira natso terera iwe. Kanango mayorira natso terera iwe. Voda izira ngome natso pembera. Upenye udukuduku mwanawe. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira natso terera iwe. Traveling. I have been traveling. We're still all traveling. Yes, I have been traveling.
not just learning about how to fight. You'll have to know how to navigate the galaxy.
My heart go boom boom when I'm looking at your body. I feel the goosebumps when I'm all over your body. You turn me up and I turn you on. Heaven is in marbles, picture perfect for me. Wakana kangwana, unengero achizikana. Wakana kangwana, abana mumewa ndingade ndiwewe kangwana. Unengero achizikana.
Are you going to be seen?
We are going live. We are going live. We can go live. There we go. Lucy, make sure you can see me. I trust everybody can hear us. Really good evening and welcome. Thank you for having us at Ikaya Lodge. Before we come to you, Ruth, we'll do the introductions this now. I want to bring forward the president of OWIT Kenya, Madam President, joining us all the way from DRC in Kinshasa this evening, Madam President Pauline. We'll see if we can put a spotlight on her. Hopefully she's got her sound and her audio and she's ready to go. Good evening, welcome everybody. We're now going live. We're live on YouTube. We're live in the session and looking forward to learning more about Ruth and her journey and talking about all sorts of interesting things this evening. But to kick off the evening and to kick off everything, I would like to welcome Pauline, the president of OWIT Kenya, and the founder. Okay, well, but maybe she'll tell us more about it. Over to you, Pauline.
Hello, Africa. Sanibonani, Lovini, Habari. Welcome to Africa Day celebrations here in Kenya and South Africa, powered by HIBA, who help in scaling Africa solutions in collaboration with Ikaya Lodges and OWIT Kenya. All protocols observed. My name is Pauline Okubasu. I am the president of OWIT Kenya. I'm also the CEO of Azavi Foods, that is in the value addition of fruits here in Kenya. Today is all about Africa Day that has been observed annually for the last 60 years on the 25th of May since 1963 by the Organization of Africa Unity, a precursor of Africa Union. Today is a day that we reflect on the milestones, the achievements, as well as address and offer solutions to some of the challenges facing our continent, Africa, the cradle of humankind. We are resilient, independent, and can survive and rise above any situations. Our forefathers shaped and paved the way to our transformation. Who is OWIT Kenya? OWIT is Organization of Women in International Trade. We are a member chapter of OWIT International. We have 7 chapters across Africa, that is South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Eswatini, our latest baby. We promote the advancement of women to international trade. We help them foster and nurture their businesses so that they're able to thrive, become resilient, and support their communities. We do this through trade information dissemination, networking, leadership, and professional growth initiatives. We do this not just by ourselves, but with like-minded partners, just like HIBA here today. We are honored to have our facilitator, Mr. Vusi Kabaka, aka rainmaker, as he makes great things happen, just like he has done today with his great team behind the scenes. We are really grateful for what you have done today and for partnering with OIT Kenya. We're also grateful to have our guest speaker, Madam Ruth Kamau, who will share her business journey. I don't know how she made it in a foreign country, but we are happy and grateful that you are here and you can share your story with us. We celebrate all of you, your achievements, and we celebrate our cultural diversity, our rich African heritage, our innovations and intelligent people. We are the pride of Africa. Karibuni, Nabu Kele. I hope I've said it nice. Well, Nabu Kele. Welcome, everybody, and have a joyous moment. May this day transform your mindset. Thank you.
Asante sana, President, and thank you for allowing us this platform. And thank you to the wonderful members of OIT Kenya that have taken the time to join us this evening. Jambo to all of you guys, wherever you're joining us from across East Africa and across Kenya. Big fan of your country, love to come. And this wonderful, beautiful young lady next to me is from that part of the world, and we'll talk all about that. So again, asante sana for you welcoming us and having us in your place. We feel very welcome. What you might not see on the other side, your audience, is that we have some friends on the other side of the camera. We are enjoying tea, African teas, here at Ikaya Lodge in Cape Town. So again, the next time you're thinking of coming to Cape Town, please book Ikaya Lodge and come and support this wonderful business that you're about to learn a little bit something about. So Ruth, I want to start the conversation in a simple way. I don't want to come to Ikaya yet, because there's a whole other side to the story. And I know that putting you in the spot to talk about your personal life, especially to your fellow country people, and especially to your people, you might want to maybe do something to introduce who Ruth is in the context of where you are coming from. So we start there maybe, and then work our way to where we are today.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Marisa. So thank you so much, OIT Kenya, and your 7 chapters. I'm so honored to be here today. I'm really grateful for the friendship and, business journey, partnership, if you like, even if though we're not actual partners, but, people who you can exchange ideas with. I'm really grateful for that friendship, Vu, and, it's something that has come back to us again and again. So I want to start there because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Vu. So thank you, Vu, and thank you, Haiba. And thank you again, Pauline, for extending this opportunity to me. I want to start by saying habari gani, mko wazima uko nyumbani, natarajia kuja nyumbani July. I'm always excited to come to Nairobi. No disrespect to Cape Town, but Nairobi is my hometown.
We are sister cities now. I don't know. You heard the news? Yeah?
No.
Nairobi and Cape Town is sister cities now.
People are catching up, yeah? Slowly.
What we've always known.
This is it. So that's even more exciting. Yeah, so now one foot here and one foot there.
Exactly.
It's happening.
It's happening.
I'm excited. So it's really good to hear that. I didn't even know that. But where am I from? Sasa, I'm from Red Hill in Limuru. So anyone who knows Tigoni, which is more famous, Red Hill is the hill before Tigoni. And so I come from those rolling hills of tea, but my mom was a farmer. So I grew up on the farm. She was a farmer. My dad was an administrator, and he was the General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, the first African General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Kenya. And they moved to what was then, the previously white-owned farms when in the 60s. So I am a post-independence child and very proud to be a post-independence child because our parents had blue sky, go do, go be. And so we grew up with that kind of vibe. And so I went to school in Nairobi at Parklands Primary School, and then I went to Moi Nairobi Girls, and I was there for 6 years. And then I went to Kenyatta University. But all that is in my bio. But it's good to mention it because I still feel so. I'm najivunia kwa Mkenya. So I'm very proud of being Kenyan, and I'm proud to be a Pan-Africanist. My parents, my mom is still with us, so I will say, my parents are serious Pan-Africanists, and they brought us to love this continent and to understand that it is our standing ground. And from it, we draw strength, and there's a lot of intellectual property on this continent. And because of the amount of intellectual property, that's why we have this wall behind us. But I'll come to that. But it feeds me, and it doesn't matter where I am in the world. I walk with that knowledge that we are a powerful, intelligent, capable people. And so when I saw the title, Our Africa, Our Future, I was like, this is very exciting. Someone's been listening to my dreams. This is very exciting. Yeah.
And again, you've had this dream. And before I get to it,
okay,
I know there's going to be people on the call listening in. And this is a very important context in your story, because you didn't necessarily become an entrepreneur immediately.
No.
You had a bit of a journey to your entrepreneurship, and we'll get into the detail of that. So it would be amiss for me to not touch on that part of your life in a professional kind of corporate context and the transition there into the entrepreneurship space. Could we touch on that quickly before we move into the journey of entrepreneurship? So, you've worked around the world in FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods. You're a marketer by profession, a profession long forgotten at this stage. What's that even a profession?
I try to remind my kids that I was actually, that.
So maybe for the context of the audience and for people who maybe might be currently in a corporate situation trying to exit, or for entrepreneurs who wanna maybe appreciate a bit more the value of actually having a strong foundation in corporatizing their business. Here to comment on your journey on before you got to this place, what was the place you were in before?
Oh, before I got to this place, I was in this other people's money place, which is what corporate is. So for me, it was a space where I could dream big because, I just put the budget through and, you persuaded the people who control the purse strings and the money flows.
Yeah.
So I started after university. I did Kenyatta University. So it's a university that trains people to be teachers. And so when I started there, I was training to be a teacher. And then I started at Kianda College. So Kenyans will know Kianda College. And I taught at Kianda College as business subjects, because that's what I did. I did a business education, business degree. And then from there, I decided to go into advertising. So I joined a company that was called Young and Rubicon. Sorry, it was called
Young and Rubicon. Yeah.
No, Young and Rubicon was was competition. Why would I say that?
It's so far gone. It's so far gone.
It was called Helayton. Sternhill and Vernon Ayton, they owned the company. So I went there and they created a role for me. And so the role that I went there to do was to try and communicate between the creative department and the account service. So I would go everywhere with account service, get the brief, sit in the meetings, and then regurgitate that information in a way that it made sense to the creatives. Apparently, they're higher beings, and so their information
their
has
brains
have to be, sort of, presented information in a certain way. And apparently, I could do it. So I took that as a compliment. And so I did that for quite a few years, and then I moved to brand management with Kiwi Brands, and that's when the international scope opened. So I started traveling. I was, Kiwi shoe polish, made in Kenya, but sold all over the continent. The other factory, I think, then was in Nigeria. So started traveling, and then from there got headhunted and moved with the NutraSweet company, which was a subsidiary at that time of Monsanto, and they relocated me to Uganda. So that's when I started working closely with the Madvani Group, because I was in joint ventures. So, you know, in this world that I was then, it's almost like if you did something and you pressed the right button, it's like another door opened and another door opened. So I ended up doing joint ventures for a while with the NutriSweet company, and Madvani Group was my client, Dangote was my client, and Tswani and Sudan, we had a client. At that time, I was just doing my job and having a great time, traveling all over the continent. And also because these guys are so well endowed in the financial department, you know, you also meet them in other parts of the world because, oh, but they're having whatever in London. Oh, but they're, you know, so let's meet there. So, okay, fine, I'll come. And so I ended up traveling quite a bit. And so it was a very exciting thing. And then they relocated me to South Africa. So when I came to South Africa, I was in Johannesburg. And so I was there for a while before I decided now to move to New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that journey, by the way, I must say, for the Kenyans in the audience, I inherently believe I've traveled all over the continent and have very deep roots in different parts. Kenyans are the best storytellers on the continent. They just don't use the advantage they have over the rest of us. And I wish they did. Because I think storytelling is the key cornerstone of being African as well. So, you know, you were effectively telling brand stories.
Yes, I was.
And that's become something that, again, the foundation of this place where we are, this beautiful building. And if you can, look up Ikaya Lodge online for the videos. It will be enough to convince yourself, I think. Now, talk us through the beginning of that journey. And I know you're welcome to tell us in different ways how it came about. And I know that your silent partner is also your brother. So there's a story there that maybe people might take lessons from, working with family and siblings. But give us a journey first of, from being busy in corporate life, starting a family, all of that, to this journey that you now have been on for some time.
So I would say Ikea is a dream come true. And I don't say that as a cliche. It actually really is a dream come true for me because my brother, who is, as you said, my silent partner, he and I are we have a very good rapport, and it always has been like that. So because we grew up on the farm and we had work on the farm, and one day we were just, it was late at night, everybody had gone to bed, and we were just like sitting in the sitting room, enjoying the last embers of the fire, and you just start dreaming, and we were like, you know what? When our parents get old, we'll have a little place for them there on the side, and Kenyans will understand when I say a place there on the side, and we'll take the house and we'll turn it into like a guest house or a place where people can stop and have tea, and that's because we're on the main road as well. So, that's how we started dreaming and thinking it would be really nice to own a property like that and have people coming, because we both enjoy people. We enjoy company, we enjoy conversations, and we enjoy being hospitable. So that's how it started. And then we didn't we didn't really do very much beyond specific time. And then I've got small ears, Ruth.
I know. We just need you for the mic.
I've got really small ears, so I'm sorry. I actually have to wear proper headphones because the small ones, they just keep popping out. So I apologize for that. So that's how it happened. And then, life happens. He was 17, I was 10. So, life happens. And then I was in New Zealand, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, but this is the way I remember it, okay? So I was in New Zealand, and my brother likes to look at property, he likes to put his investments in brick and mortar. So he called me, and I was talking about coming back to the continent. And we were based in New Zealand at that time in Auckland, and I was working for Healtheries. And he said to me, okay, so you're coming back, eh? I said, yeah. I said, okay. So I found it. I said, you found what? That thing we talked about. I was like, no, man, you're kidding. He said, no, I found it. So I said, oh, man, that's so cool. That time, I have a 2-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, and I'm like super excited. And so he says, okay, so now, are you interested? I said, yes, I'm interested. He said, okay, now you've said yes, you can't say no. So I said, I'm not saying no, but I have no clue. You understand? This is a phone conversation, right? This is before Instagram and all that. So I said, yeah, cool, fine. So now he was coming across the road to look at one of those properties there. And he saw this place. And he decided to book in, and he stayed the night. He liked the vibe and everything. And then he sent me the website, and I looked at it. The website, when I looked at it, it looked like a small place, not a family place, you know? So I wasn't intimidated. I was like, I can do this, right? And so I said, yeah, okay, fine. So now it's to sell that property, to take out that investment, it's to do this, to get the money ready, speak to the bank, write your feasibility studies, whatever. It was great fun. They said yes. We actually kind of didn't think they would because neither of us are South African. I was in New Zealand. He was based in Pretoria at that time. But they said yes. So we're like, oh, it's a thing. We're doing this. And we were off. And then I had to. So we went through everything when I was remotely. I wasn't here. So going through the papers. And then we decided, then the time came to relocate, and then I came. And I remember when we arrived, it was in the evening, around 6 o'clock. And I looked at this place, I was like, it's much bigger than I thought. But you're sunk, you know? And I remember sitting
the money is there, it's gone.
You know, you've quit your job, you've relocated, container and everything, children. And I'm sitting on this couch, this very couch over here. And I'm thinking, okay, there's no turning back. And that's 16 and a half years ago.
That's amazing. And that's crazy. And so we'll get to wisdom later.
Right.
We'll get to wisdom later. I think I want you to encapsulate some of the key principles that people might take away. And one of them is going to be working with your family and your siblings. Let it park there at the back. I think this next question, because I know your story, it hasn't been entirely easy. Okay, but we're not gonna go towards emotionally triggering things. We'll keep it.
Don't trigger me. I'll start switching.
We'll keep it safe. We'll keep it safe. So, but what's important also to try to mention is, and for everybody who doesn't understand Cape Town, there is a bit of a dynamic in our city. Yes, we are here, beautiful Black people sitting around us here, but there is a dynamic to our city. And again, if you know anything about that dynamic in our city, Cape Town is arguably the most cosmopolitan city in South Africa, but still has these dynamics and these issues that it has, and that create a stigma for it. And you face that.
Yeah.
You face that as both a Black female.
Yeah.
You face that as a foreigner.
Yeah.
You face that as somebody who supposedly didn't belong.
Yes.
Okay. Take us back to that time. What was? I'm going to try and set the scene for the audience. Ruth, in principle, her location is great location, not far from the House of Parliament in South Africa, not far from the party scene in Cape Town. If you know the party scene in Cape Town. So very well located property in the central business district of the city, but not in the, in the craziness of it, but just on the right side of the outskirts of it. So again, walking distance to multiple restaurants and things. So very well located property, but somehow you face these challenges.
Somehow because of that.
Yeah. Is it because of that?
Because of that.
You are taking something away that
naughty fingers.
So how was, when you put in a position, and again, the tourism industry as well is, especially one in Cape Town, predominantly white male. What was going on first of all, and how did you overcome it? How did you find your own place in it?
Yeah, so it was a lot, and you were here, so it was a lot, and some days were more challenging than others.
Even suppliers, I don't know.
Yeah,
people are paying money.
When they discover that you're Black, you're like, okay, so then sorry, out of stock.
Yeah,
permanently. So that was, and it was a very interesting growth season for me. I know we're not doing the wisdom thing, but it was a very interesting growth season for me because I come from Kenya, and I don't know, I can't speak for everybody. But like I said, I went to Parklands Primary School, and people who know that school will know it's in Parklands, which is predominantly Indian, and it was a Goan school. So during colonial times, they segregated the schools. So it was a Goan school, and so our teachers were African and Goans and Indians. Your classmates are like that. We didn't have really white people in my school. So you grow up with this multiculturalness, and it's a formative year. So you don't really see color, you don't experience it. Your bestie is, somebody who says Tarunam Suche, and you say, and you reply, and I used to speak Gujarati, the basics of it. So you come here, and your friends, white people, you socialize like that and everything, and then you're rejected on the basis of your color. That had never happened to me before. It hadn't happened to me at work. It was the content of your mind. But here, the first thing was the color of your skin. And then it didn't help that I was a single woman, and then it didn't help that I was foreign. So there was the racist pushback, and there was xenophobia. And they both impacted on my business. So that because we bought a going concern, there's some people who didn't know that had happened. And then when they happened, they closed, the opportunities, and they told others, and others would call and give me a piece of their mind and tell me, how dare you impersonate? I said, I'm not impersonating anybody. It's my business. Yes, but you're impersonating that there's someone behind you. So it was all these sort of things that helped you understand what, the new frame that you were going to have to work with, because I needed to draw my picture. And so, that was learning to navigate that. It became a thing of creating a microcosm in this space where we gave you the best possible service you can expect from a 3-star and beyond that. So it was drawing from my corporate experience and applying it here. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in doing so, talk to me about your resilience. Talk to me about your mindset during that time.
My mindset was really influenced by 3 people. One of them being obviously my brother, because he had been on the multinational scene for a very long time, and he was he was very senior where he was. So he understood the pushback I was getting, but he kept reminding me to lean into my strengths, which are basically that I have a good mind.
Yeah.
And that when I get down to it, I can have a decent conversation with somebody and just leave the rest of it.
And that's the thing I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. Yeah. And then the other 2 were my parents, because whenever I spoke to my dad was like, so, it's like, just get on with what you have to do. You've grown up knowing different kind of experiences with people who are not of the same nationality as you, the same skin color, the same ethnicity. Focus on that. And then my mom, she's the one who came to play a lot. I mean, in my mind, my mom is fearless. And so that is something I really needed to tap into. I remember my brother coming to visit one time, and he said, I didn't know you had a temper, and he had known me for the best part of 45 years by then. And I was like, yeah, but
when the need comes,
they need that, because my mom is not so much that she has a temper, but she's not afraid to stand up for herself. She's got a very vivid imagination, and she's not afraid to go through with that vivid imagination, regardless of the obstacles that she may face. And she used to say to us, I have to say it in Kikuyu, meaning there's no child of Wajiro who was born with fear. So you have to tap into your strength and be resilient and stand strong. And eventually, whatever it is, you will either push through it or it will go away.
Yeah. Now, I want you to talk to me about the positive stuff. So we've touched on the weird kind of cold stuff.
Yeah.
What I know about Ikaya and the people who actively seek it out and the people who actively come back intentionally when they can, is the spirit of what the place symbolizes. Beyond you and the staff, it's everything that's here, the decor, the curation of the environment, and the truest spirit of connecting to the continent as its inspiration. Talk me through those positive elements. Talk me through some favorite stories of your favorite clients who've kind of reaffirmed your belief in this thing that you've done.
It's been wonderfully reaffirming, because some of the people who initially thought that we would, quote and unquote, bring the standards down where we're located, often reinforce the fact that we have not only maintained but elevated the standards. Because I guess because the spotlight was constantly on us, it became incumbent on me to try and make sure that we never let our guard down. Yeah. So it's been really reaffirming, because once again I said, I come from parents who are Pan-Africanists, and I'm a Pan-African at heart. And so creating this space, my first thing was xenophobia. I needed to tackle that. So it was working to include other team members who are not South African, within the limits of the law, obviously, because you want to work with South Africans and other nationalities. That was incredibly impactful to our guests. We didn't realize that was going to happen, but for our guests, it was incredibly impactful in the sense that when they came, they saw someone from the DRC, they saw someone from Malawi, they saw someone from Zimbabwe. We had someone from Kenya, in that course of time. And so even now we have a Pan-African staff. So that is our intent. And it has really worked with our clients from different parts of the world, because they come, and sometimes with language as well. Some people speak French. And so they love it when the staff are also able to communicate to them. And that was one of the things. The other thing is, it became an opportunity for me to try and inform. And so even the art on the wall became an opportunity for discourse and art. So we have pictures like the ones behind us. They're icons of people of African descent, or people, and when I say people of African descent, they may not have been born on the continent, but their heritage is off the continent. So some of them are like African Americans, and they're on the wall. So we have all
our cousins.
Yeah.
We accept and embrace.
And so it becomes a place where we begin to look for mentors within ourselves, as opposed to only being told about the mentors we can have. And this particular wall becomes a very positive point of engagement with all our guests, whether they are from an NGO or a tourist. And then the other positives is, Cape Town is such a beautiful place. It really blesses you with so much natural beauty. And the position that we have unfettered views of Table Mountain and Lion's Head. And it's about bringing that wholesome natural energy in here by being welcoming. And so Ikaya means the house or the home. And even though we can't trademark the name, and as I said, we bought the business as a going concern, so we kept the name. It really began to embody the spirit of who we are here. That when you come here, you exhale. You feel like you've come home. You're embraced with warmth. You're attended to. We don't try to be what we are not, and that creates a lot of comfort to our guests.
And in general, do you find that we do that enough on the continent? Or are we just so quick to want to westernize and adopt? How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's a big question, But I do think that we need to start looking more at what we are doing. And I think we need to start looking more at the resources that we have on the continent. We are a very wealthy continent. Yes, it's mismanaged, but that's like a business. You can buy a business that was thriving, and if you don't look after it, it will collapse. On the same token, you can buy something that was mediocre and you turn it into a star. And I think that's the thing about love and attention. Our continent needs our love and attention. And so if we keep if we keep looking on the other side and saying, oh, but in Europe, oh, but in Europe, it's better over there, we're disregarding ourselves. You know, it's almost like your child is coming and you're always busy on your phone.
Yeah.
But mommy, yeah, you know, just go and do it over there, you know, but you're never giving your child your focus.
Yeah.
The child's going to wither. The child's not going to be the person they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with our continent. We've got everything here. And it's not a fantasy like, you know, like we saw in Wakanda, and I love that movie. What I'm trying to say is that it's real. Yeah. It can happen.
Yeah. Well, mind you, I was watching a very popular Netflix series that's live on Netflix now called Young, Famous, and African. And one of the participants was mentioning the fact that Cape Town is like Wakanda. So, you know, if you haven't been to Cape Town, you are welcome to Wakanda. We are in Wakanda.
We live in Wakanda.
We live in Wakanda.
Forever.
So, you are welcome. I want to kind of probe the audience a little bit. Busi is on at the back over there, waiting to curate your questions for Ruth. So I want to encourage you to get into the chat box and start putting out your questions. And again, would love to also have you come and connect and engage. We are on a live Zoom, so you are able to interact. So Busi, you know, start curating the questions. We might call you out by name. Do come on, switch on your mic if you can. Hopefully you're in a decent place of connectivity where you can ask your question directly to Ruth. She can hear you, and then she'll be able to respond. So I want to encourage the audience to start thinking about the type of questions you have. I'm still coming to your wisdom, but I'm going to come to another point, because another sad point. Okay, I had to kind of take you on a roller coaster.
Fine, it's fun.
And this one might trigger, because it was a tough time. You know, not so long ago, you are in the tourism industry. You need people to fly here most of the time to come and enjoy the creature comforts of what you've created. You need people from all over the world, including the continent, and especially the continent, to make their way to enjoy Ikaya and be at home. But recently, we came out of a terrible time as a global family with COVID, and naturally it affected businesses like yourself, the entire industry. And again, I don't want you to think too hard about what was going on. I want you to talk again back to the question on resilience and back to what's allowed you to have this place open again, receiving guests again. Because again, I know some people still are yet to recover from COVID. They're still trying to find their pre-COVID business and their pre-COVID kind of environment. What were your key lessons in overcoming that? And I mean, your industry was possibly one of the worst affected. What's given you that resilience to push through and come back even stronger?
So we were closed for 22 months. So basically there was nothing happening here for almost 2 years. And it was a time to really reflect on myself as well. And, you know, to understand how was it going to be possible to start again. And in all this, my faith has been very, very important to me as a place to go to meditate and to pray and to get direction, you know, so that even if I read something or even if, you know, I hear something on the news, I'm able to go back to that place where I can draw on my faith, which is it supersedes everything. So when the time came to reopen, I believe that my mind was primed to act out my faith. And that faith required me to believe that whatever it is that I'm imagining, the guests coming back, I need to hold on to that. And with that, speak to my team and help us to get ready. So we prepared the place. We always kept it going. Always, every day I was here, every single day during those 22 months. And we kept checking on the lights, fixing this, fixing that, making sure everything stayed like almost primed and ready to go. And when it reopened, what was amazing was the love and care that we had given our guests is what brought them back. So we communicate to our guests in a very personal way. So when they write emails to us, we don't have a standard response. So we don't have a template. And that relationship is what brought people back. And it's what has held them back. And held them here.
And the sense of community.
The sense of community, the sense of belonging that we used to write to them during COVID and tell them, we hope that you will come back. So we didn't stop communicating to the people who we could reach out to. And they came back, I think, because of that, because they said they wanted us to be open. And then when they came, we gave them the best of what we could. And then that sort of becomes a marketing tool on its own. Yeah.
Brilliant. And in general, this, again, maybe I'll put this question differently, because again, in the space you're in, you're also a leader in the market now. You have veterans, so people now, they call on your wisdom and your guidance. Okay. And you serve in a couple of boards, and you support a couple of organizations. Why has that also been important for the growth and development of your business?
That's been integral to the growth and development of my business, because one of the things that happens is once that wave of rejection passed, like I said, it was the first 5-7 years, then people started almost accepting that, you're part of the tourism business in Cape Town. And it was easier to have conversations with people. And then the biggest turning point for me was when I was elected to the FEDHASA board. And I was elected in 2016 to represent the Western Cape. It was a shock because, you have developed relationships, you've tried to be present, but to be actually elected, that was a shock to me, but a very pleasant shock. It was like now the tables had gone the other way. And then that created a different kind of conversation with the key players in the city, which allowed me to interact with them and then attract business in a different way.
You became more visible.
I became not only visible, but credible. I don't think we were never invisible. We were just not taken seriously. People didn't trust that maybe if they come and bring their business here, that we will be able to deliver. So, but by sitting on the board of FEDHASA and having to chair committees and having to answer questions with the city or with national government, then people start thinking, oh, okay, maybe, and that's all that's
needed. Now you're relatable as well.
Yes.
Right? You go through the same thing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that especially now, because there was a crisis of the water crisis, and I was on the water crisis board for FEDHASA here in Cape Town. And then in 2020, I was still on FEDHASA with COVID. So then you're having this kind of interactions with people that allow you now to communicate completely differently. And that helps a great deal.
For the context of the audience, FEDHASA is the local industry body or industry association, again, for hospitality services in the city. So again, I think the key point there is that find your local industry body and get involved. Get involved, and also get involved in servant leadership as well as part of the process. I want to quickly check in with Usit. Do you have any questions that are burning? People are still shy, sitting on the cells. It's not a problem. This, after all, is a masterclass, and the whole idea behind this is the exchange of knowledge and the opportunity in which to engage to actually ask some critical questions. I want to pick up on something Pauline obviously said in her opening remarks that, again, I think is important to touch on and to speak to. Again, the background to how I met Pauline is that they were part of a delegation that was here in Cape Town as part of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which had recently launched a business forum, which I highly recommend for anybody, or join OWIT if you're not already an OWIT member. And we met here in Cape Town, and again, part of what they're trying to do, Pauline is trying to expand her footprint of a business to reach new parts of the continent, leveraging the intra-Africa trade possibility. Now, she mentioned something very interesting that I think is important for you to address, and that is, as a foreigner, and South Africans I know will remind you all the time that you're a foreigner. So as a foreigner, maybe think about it in different ways. What advice would you give for anybody who wants to take their business, who's not South African? I mean, Kenyans now have fee visa travel to South Africa, you are welcome, Karibu. Okay. As a foreigner, as a Kenyan, looking to expand and build your footprint elsewhere, what are thoughts and advice in how they can make it as a business owner in a different country, in a foreign country?
I think
what has been the key lessons you've taken?
The first thing is that you need to do business, basically, you need to know what it is that you want to do. You have to have a very clear agenda in your mind so that you can be able to identify your opportunities. So I think that was one of the things that really helped us. We were not divergent. We knew that we wanted this business to be a successful enterprise. And so you put your energies into that. So if you're coming here, it would, or anywhere, it would be worthwhile to check that market. Do your feasibility study, investigate, try and find out the associations as well. So in the beginning, when we were thinking of buying this business, that's what was involved in the feasibility study. I had to go online and check and make a few phone calls here and there to try and establish if this was a good location, you know. So try and find out what associations you can work with, and then create a network with those associations. Sometimes you're not fortunate enough to actually have a point person, so it would be worthwhile to come into that market and take notes while you're here, like somebody who is actually interested in establishing the business, not a holiday. So I had the advantage of my brother, who was already in this market and knew Cape Town well. I had worked in South Africa, so I knew Cape Town well. So in that way, it wasn't like it was too foreign. It was only now coming as an entrepreneur, as opposed to an employee of a multinational. So I was confident about. The other thing is, you need to be able to understand that, I mean, this sounds like a cliche, but with business, the first 5 years are a slog. You know, it's very rare that you have a business that just goes, you know, like a rocket from day one. So that resilience is very important. If you're going to come here, you have to have that resilience. In South Africa specifically, I think it has the unique aspects of having a lot of cliques. And those social cliques can be very intimidating. One just needs to understand that is the way it is, you know, and find which areas find which points you can break through, and don't give up, and don't keep. The one thing that I learned not to keep trying to do is to try and pretend that I'm not different. I'm not South African, because the minute I opened my the accent wasn't South African. My features are not, you know. So the minute also you start saying, yes, this is what I can bring to the table. This is my unique. That becomes an asset. Exactly. So whereas sometimes people try to say, no, we are all the same or whatever. No, don't isolate yourself. Don't try and pretend that you don't have differences that, you know, that might be standing between the two of you or the market that you're in. Because when you recognize what the gaps are, you're better able to deal with them. Yeah.
I mean, that's important insight, and I think, well, as a follow-on to that, maybe as a question. I mean, you have been here sort of 16 years, and you continue to thrive in your business. A simple question would be, for anybody who's in Kenya, should they be doing business in South Africa?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Especially now that we are twin sisters.
Yeah, twin cities. I didn't even know that. The whole aspect of not having a visa, you know, Kenyans are very entrepreneurial, and there is so much that we can do together, you know, and there's so much we can learn from this market, because in many areas, there's a lot of, there are many ways that the South African market has advanced much further than we have, and we can now take advantage of those lessons and quicken our progress in whatever it is we want to do. When it comes to the service industry, I mean, Kenya is well known for that. We're really good with the service industry, but even within that, maybe it's the way we present our product that we can just improve our game on that. But then South Africans can also learn.
I was saying to somebody on Twitter, they need to open a meat place here that at least resembles half of what Nairobi offers as as the meat. We got good meat, but I think
it's just the way.
time. Yeah.
I think there's a lot that it's the symbiosis, isn't it? And that's what I was referring to earlier, that if we can start looking at how we can grow by exchanging ideas and exchanging skills, we'll all be better off for it.
So I want to, before I get into the wisdom, I want to pivot the conversation ever so slightly. I still have two more things that I want to touch on, but we are here because it's Africa Day.
Yes.
We are beneficiaries of an amazing legacy, 60 years in the making of Africa's unity. That context, what does it say to you? What does today symbolically say to you? You touched on it already. Do you want to kind of expand on what you initially said? Why should we be acknowledging this moment?
I think I'd go back to what Pauline said when she said that, our fathers, our mothers, they laid the groundwork for us. And so we should be building on that. This is an important day that we should really own as a continent, and not just in celebrating our achievements in all areas, culturally, technologically. When you think of the topography, this should be a time when we reflect on where those opportunities lie and maximize them. For me, to have this conversation today and to know that OIT has 7 chapters on the continent, it speaks to exactly where I would like to see myself in the future. An Africa where technology is connecting us and we're able to exchange ideas, whether we're entrepreneurs or whether it's people in a different field, and benefiting from that exchange. There's incredible opportunity for us.
Growing ourselves.
Yeah.
Using a cell phone and a ring light.
Yeah.
And the internet.
It's become so much easier now.
So much easier. Yeah. Even though we would like to come and visit Nairobi soon, we still can do this. We can still educate and learn from each other.
Yeah.
So let me, one more question before I get into the wisdom. 16 years, you've survived COVID, you've survived people getting in the way, you've built something, and we are looking ahead to the future of the continent. It's going places. What is the future of Ikaya, and what is the future of Ruth Kamau in that future? What does that world look like from this point onwards, beyond today?
Oh, wow. I would like to think that the future for me, first of all, is in a thriving Africa. That's really important for me, because Africa for me is my standing ground. I draw power from this continent. Having lived in different parts of the world, then you realize there's a place where you resonate. And it's not that I can't live anywhere else. It's just that this really feeds me. So that's important for me as an individual, that Africa, Cape to Cairo sort of thing, east to west, thrives. And so the people of the continent thriving. The future for me is a place where I can see myself interacting like I am today, where we're able to have conversations. I don't want to monopolize any conversation. I want to be able to sit and listen like people are sitting and listening, and so that I can draw wisdom and information from the people who are on the continent. I'm not excluding the rest of the world. It's just that right now my attention has become very keenly focused, because I think I've learned that there's so much more that we can offer. And so in the future, it's about taking the lessons that I've learned here at Ikaya and being able to replicate them. I have such an incredible team, Vu, and I know that's probably a wisdom thing, but I just want to say that without the team that I've had, and I know some people have come and gone, but some have stayed throughout, without the team that I have had here, all those challenges would have been insurmountable, And so for me, it's to be able to tell everyone who's listening that because it's a Pan-African team, it means we can work. This is a microcosm of what is possible for us. So I want to be able to replicate those kind of experiences elsewhere. Yeah.
So look out for an Ikaya Lodge, maybe in Nairobi, maybe in Kigali. I don't know. Or maybe call Ruth if you've got some endowments that you think you can make some investments.
Oh, that's a plug. Eh? I didn't even know there was going to be some sort of plug for the future.
So let's get into a bit of wisdom. And let's get into a bit of reflective wisdom in the things you've achieved. You know, in understanding your life and understanding the things you are. And I'm going to start with one that we haven't maybe touched on yet, but I know is very important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is being a mom, and again, an entrepreneur and a mom. What advice? There's a lot of women on the call, young ladies, Pauline's much younger than you. You know, you've got a family to raise, to try to balance all of these things. As a mom in a business, what is your advice on parenting, being a mom, and an entrepreneur?
I think, well, for me, one of the most important things that I realized was to treat my children as importantly as I treat my clients. So I diarized everything to do with my children. So just the same way I wouldn't miss a meeting, I wouldn't miss something to do with my children. And so they're not resentful of this business to this day. You know, sometimes they would have to wait for me if I was, you know, had something to do, but I didn't use the business as an excuse not to show up for a assembly or to show up. My daughter, she was incredible. So I wear a uniform because I like to blend with everybody. And I also find that maybe this is a wisdom thing. It breaks down the barriers with the clients. So they speak to you not knowing you're the owner, but they can see maybe you're the manager. And so they're more honest. So my daughter would say, okay, before you come, you change from your uniform. So I would change from the uniform, go to the assembly with my heels and everything, and then change again. But, you know, it was important for me to be there. And she just wanted me to look like the other moms, you know. So, but that's, I was communicating to her that, I don't know, I've lost it.
You lost it.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
I was communicating to my children that they're as important to me as a client. A client might say, I only want the lunch to come out at this time. And our guests need to have a packed something like this before we go. And we do it to the T. So why can't I do that for my child? That's the first thing I would say. The other thing is, because of diarizing, then you make this quality time and your team knows about it and you can schedule it and everybody knows to be available. So treat your children as importantly as your business. Yeah.
So I thought, let me start with that. And Ruth has two wonderful kids who are grown now. They're big people.
Empty nester.
Empty nester. So she's going to do bigger things on the continent. So.
Watch this.
Watch this. Let me get into sibling and working with family. Thoughts and advice. What has worked? What has been your formula with you and your brother?
Honesty. I mean, my team know. I always say that, you know, if I tell my brother we can't do this, he'll ask me questions, but not to challenge me. That level of trust became it became very important for me not to break it. You see, so I really treat him like a business partner. And I think with a sibling, if you start graying those areas and you're saying, but you're my brother, you understand, you know, then that's when problems begin to happen. But, you know, as far as possible, like making sure that you run your business like a business and not like a family business where people take out money and because they saw something in the store and now they want to go and get it, you know, now you have to treat you know, you have to treat the business like a business. One of the things that I did with my kids, for instance, is they couldn't take even soft drinks from the bar. And I told the team, they can't do that. It's a business. So they need to know we have soft drinks at home. When they're at Ikaya, they can't just help themselves. And it's the same, that's the level of trust that you need to have with your sibling, that you know they're not going to misappropriate the company money, that you know that they're going to tell you when things are going wrong. And sometimes it gets really hard. And so for us, we had to deal with the Lehman Brothers when the financial collapse happened, and our mortgage went crazy. And then, you know, it was difficult for both of us, very trying. But we both understood that we wanted to succeed. So there was that honesty, like, Are you still in? Okay. Are you still in? Yeah. Okay. So you have to check in with each other and be honest. And that's to say, even when we were closed during COVID, we were still communicating. There wasn't much to say, but it's just to say the walls are still standing, you know. So that level of honesty and transparency is vital.
And the next one, which is also, I know, something that's very close to your heart, that's important for you to do, working with foreign customers.
Yes.
A foreign clientele. Advice, what has made you win and what has kept you strong, to get the support of foreign customers?
I think I had the advantage of coming from multinational, from the corporate. So I was on the other side for a long time, around maybe 15 years of my career. I was on the other side asking for the service. So I had that intrinsic knowledge of what they would be looking for. So that helps. But then you still have to walk the talk. So once again, it was under promising and over delivering and being flexible. The reason why I say under promise and over deliver is because if you know that you haven't done something before, but you want to do it, you can tell the client, we will do our best to meet this. We haven't done this before, honestly, but we want to try flexibility. This is how we can see it happening for you. Let the client buy into that idea and then make sure you deliver. Once you do that once or twice, they actually ask you, what do you think we should do? So we worked a lot with universities in different parts of the world. And they've been coming to us for over a decade. And we've got to the point where my team at the reception, they know, oh, this particular
they even guide now.
They guide and they say this particular client, they come normally in July, they come in this, we need to contact them in advance. And that's the other thing. Clients like it if you're hungry. The minute you start acting like you're taking their business for granted, it will walk away. But the fact that you're hungry means that you remember they come at a certain time. You remember they like these rooms. All those little details, you'll even see them on booking.com where people say, I keep going back because we remember, and my team know that we have clients who want someone specific to make their breakfast. And that person is because they make their eggs in a certain way. So they understand that that person might not be here the whole time, but it's nice when we say to them, oh, so and so is in the kitchen today. You'll get your eggs the way you like it. So we're small enough to do that, which means that we're giving the attention. And so we're small enough to do that. But, people expect that from 5-star, but it doesn't have to be 5-star.
Why not?
Why not 3-star, giving 5-star service when it comes to the human connection? Human connection.
Especially human connection.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. That's always very important. Doesn't matter what business ultimately you're in.
Yeah.
And that's key. So as we kind of come to a close and a wrap, and I'll comment to the audience how we're going to handle things, because I know what happens with these things. People now suddenly get the bravery and the questions start coming, and, so we'll give you a chance to engage. I want you to touch on, let's say, 3 things, Ruth, that you feel have been important principles that you've always stood by, that you've always believed in. What are the 3 things that you say, you've touched on a couple of things already, I know, but what are the 3 things that are kind of the things you lean on, that you've always felt have been consistent things that you've leaned on over the years?
Oh, just 3.
Just 3. You can add more, but I didn't also want you to think too hard, because you've mentioned a couple already that I think might be on that list. But so let me ask, maybe there's 3 specific ones that you think, okay, order of importance.
I can't do without my faith.
I thought that might come.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to come up. So I can't do without my faith, because I know that it's so grounding for me, because I believe that we were created intentionally, that nobody on this planet was, just happened. And so that becomes a very powerful place of strength for me. And then that we are created from love. And because you're created from love, you become loving. you know, so that helps me navigate difficult circumstances, even in my own life. So my faith is very important. The other aspects are, I'll just bunch them, one of them, and I'll bunch everything, is family. So when you have, for instance, for me, my children believed in what I can do. And because they believed in what I can do, like I said, they didn't become a hindrance to what I did. And so we worked as a team. My siblings believed in what I can do, not just my brother, but our siblings. So there wasn't someone saying, you know, she's going to run you to the ground. Because yes, you know what I mean. You don't have to go far to find people who are going to break you down. So in my family, there's no one who's ever told my brother, she's over there and you're over here. Bad idea. You know, it's more like she got it, which affirms him and affirms me. And my parents were very much like that. When my dad came and he visited and he walked around, my team still talk about my father because he would sit on the couch with his glass of wine, diluted with a bit of water, good Christian that he was. And then he sits there and he pretends his eyes are closed, but he's watching everybody, because on that couch he can see everyone. Then we'd get home and you tell me, that's one, XYZ. This one, that. So in those 2.5 weeks that my dad was here, I had a dossier of everybody. And then, you know, he was 88, so he's got wisdom. He wasn't wrong about one person, you know. And he helped me see things that I couldn't see because I'm running up and down and everything. So family. The other aspect is, in this particular instance, my team. Like I said, not possible. Have to have the team. The fourth thing.
You're not self-made, like some people want to be self-made.
There's no such thing. There is absolutely no such thing, because if you have a podcast, you need people to subscribe, you need people to listen. So how can you say you're self-made? You know, okay, so team. And for me, Pan-African team, so we talked about that. I have to also bring in like your knowledge. It's so important to school yourself. You know, I'm constantly reading business books and trying to find out, you know, how people do business. I like listening to masterclass, and because, you know, you pick up nuggets here and there. So I'm a big one about reading.
You're doing it right now for people. So
yeah, thank you. And also having this conversation helps me. So I think informing yourself is so important, not just about your industry, but about what's happening in the world, because it will inform your industry in some way. And so taking that. So I think those 4 things are really important. I don't know if I've missed out something, but those 4 things to me, I can't do without those things. Yeah.
And there's a final question for you, and there's a final piece of wisdom. We have a lot of women on the call, which is a women's organization, and you know, massive shout out to the various chapters and the president of OWIT. It's her birthday. The president of OWIT International.
Oh, right. Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Madam President.
Yes, happy birthday, Madam President. Yeah.
Your advice for women, as a close out thought and a close out sort of wisdom. You are women in an industry that's male dominated. Your advice for women in the various endeavors, in entrepreneurship, in business, in their ability to succeed. What advice would you want to give if you were listening to this and you are the female entrepreneur tuning in to the masterclass? What words of wisdom would you want to hear from somebody sitting on the chair?
I would want to hear that my being a woman is an asset. Too many women think that being a woman is not an asset. I think it's a huge asset, because one of the things that's coming across very clearly in the world of work is empathy. Is such a powerful tool, and women have a way of tapping into that a lot more comfortably than men. So I wouldn't say men can't, They're just probably not so comfortable with that vulnerability. And so I think that being a woman, it's almost expected you to empathize. So take advantage of that to be able to walk in someone else's shoes, because what it does is it breaks down a lot of walls. Then as a woman, I want to say that your mind as a woman tends to be able to flip into different places, different things. And although something that I really advocate, because you need to do things and be focused. Yeah, it is an advantage because you can compartmentalize things in your brain and find at the same time how they relate. So for instance, what I was saying about how my children, you know, they were part of my life by incorporating them in my diary and attending to their needs. But at the same time, I'm doing my business. So it becomes, it just becomes one thing. It just becomes one thing, and women are able to do that one thing. So that's why they can be a wife, they can be a mother, they can be the girlfriend, you know, a lot more fluidly, yeah. And being a woman, beyond the empathy, I think that we tend to be, I don't know why people don't know that women are very playful. And that ability to play can be a huge asset in keeping your mind open to wonder, to the possibilities. You see, they say children learn quickly because they're still in the world of play, you know, and women, maybe because of the way they have to nurture, the way they laugh and the way they want to joke with their friends and dress up and, you know, play roles with the clothes that they're wearing. It's an ability to play. So if women can understand that that ability to play means that their mind is open to opportunity and to suggestion and to a different way of doing things, they will tap into their creativity a lot more easily. That's
brilliant. And with that said, thank you so much, Asante Sana.
Karibu.
We've loved the session. Again, believe it or not, really appreciate the thoughts, the wisdom. I want to open the chats. We'll leave the chats open for everybody who wants to come through. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we close the session, because I know you know, we might not get the opportunity to do that properly the way what we want. So again, quickly checking with Busi. Okay, there's a question. It's coming from Jane. Jane, you have a question for Ruth?
Yes, indeed,
if you
I
don't
do.
mind, Jane, coming
yes.
to the stage and
can you hear
me? Go ahead, Ruth can hear you. Yes, you can.
Can you? Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, this is Jane. Ruth, what a fascinating story that you have told. And as someone who knows you a little bit well, I just wanted to just ask you to reflect a little bit about your journey. What I do remember is that at some point you had a cafe. I think maybe even two at some point, different points. And so I was thinking that the idea that you got into the hotel industry, is not really, the hospitality industry is not really quite as remote for you as an individual, but perhaps maybe because as a wider family you had got involved in it. But I just wanted you to reflect on what does growth mean for you? And I'm asking that because I know that in some businesses, as an entrepreneur, you think about when you've got a really good idea and you've really managed to run it considerably well, as you have at Ikaya. You know, what does growth mean? Does growth mean that you take it and replicate it and, you know, in the spirit of the Africanness, that you franchise it and then you have a Cape Town one and you have a Nairobi one and you have one in Accra and you have one in Bulawayo, you know, does growth look like that? Or does growth look like there's this really nice international boutique hotel which you really capitalize in terms of its uniqueness and its own creativity and its own flavor, is excelling in the growth. So I just wanted you to reflect, what does growth for you look like? What does it mean? Thank you.
So maybe hold the thought and we figure that out.
Good, it's a good question. Good question. Are you writing them down? I need to write it down there.
Sylvia, for the question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Generational person. Could we not harden ourselves? Look and be able to achieve.
Thank you, Sylvia. So thank you, Sylvia. So I'll start with Jane. And thanks, Jane, for your question. And this is what happens when people know something about you in the past. You know, it comes to bite you. But so it's a good question, Jane, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that. You know, with time and not wanting to just talk too much. Yes. My parents, my dad was a serial entrepreneur. That's what we called him. He used to come up with ideas and then and so that's why I kept referencing my parents as being very important to the person that I am today. So my dad did start a restaurant in Nairobi. It was called Karibu Cafe on Tomboya Street. And so he probably started that when I was in standard 1. So that is around 1971. I'm not afraid to give away my age. You know, I'm like a good wine. I just get better and better. So I'm quite comfortable with that. So so now you see your parents doing this and they're offering food and it's a cafe and people come in, and then they offered African food. And, you know, at that time it was fish and chips everywhere and Kentucky and going to the hotels. And then these people believed in themselves as Africans so much, they were offering African food. So it made us very comfortable with our Africanness. And so even as we thought about the kind of business we wanted to do, my brother and I knew we wanted something that reflected African chic, is what we called it, you know. And I don't know, but as you've never been here, but I hope that the people who come here feel that they do get that there's that sense of authenticity to what our Africanness is, but we try and give it just that little playful edge that I mentioned. And then in as far as what does growth look? Growth to me becomes a very multifaceted and beautiful thing. I think of myself as possible to open another Ikaya, yes, at a different locale, that is quite possible. But growth to me also means taking my skills and offering them to somebody who wants to, you know, just fine tune whatever it is they're doing in the hospitality industry, for instance. But right now, I can tell you that growth is already happening to me in a wonderful way of giving back. And I think every entrepreneur should find a way to give back. For instance, in 2014, 2 ladies and I, we started a soup kitchen in Cape Town. And then we ran that soup kitchen for 2 years in a place called Woodstock. And we worked with the homeless people. And my business used to cook all the food for them every Saturday. And that was growth for me, because I had got to the point where I can give back to society in that way. And so when we started another soup kitchen that we ran until COVID, this business contributed to that. And it meant that my team also understood the power of giving back. That was growth for me because the people around me and myself are giving back to the community in a way that it's impactful. Growth for me looks like what I'm doing with the Amy Foundation, where I go and I coach post-matrics on work ethics, self-awareness, and owning your personal power. That is growth for me because it means that I'm not retaining all the knowledge for myself, that whatever I have, I'm more than willing to share, because it just means that we will create that momentum in the community, in society, for the Africa that we want. So that's growth for me. And growth for me is being able to leave my team and go away for 6 weeks and not worry about my business, because the team own the business in their hearts and their minds, because it means something to them. That's growth for me. And so for me, Sylvia, when I think about hardships, and when you say that, how do you stop getting your heart hardened? Well, personally, I go back to my faith. Like I said, we are created from love for love. And so you keep tapping into the love that you have within yourself to nurture yourself and to encourage yourself. That's how I do the first thing. And so for me, meditation is very important. It's something that I do, and I do it every morning, basically. So I have my quiet time. But for those who are not maybe so spiritually inclined, meditation is important. You just sit quietly and meditate on what builds you up and the world that you want to manifest. And I know it sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo, but it really isn't. Your mind is really what you self-talk. So if you self-talk yourself that you're going to fail, you cannot think creatively. And as a woman, remember the playfulness that I mentioned. I take it into the coaching rooms. I take the playfulness. And I love getting older because I get more and more license with every year. No one is really intimidated by my playfulness because they know now I have grown children, So that is, and they see me as a mama, and I love it because it allows me now to then tap into my authentic self and do it not only with vulnerability, but with strength. So that's how I would say overcome your challenges with coming from a point of self-love, coming from a point of loving, because it's the most powerful force in the world. And it will open other doors and bring people like you into your life, just walking through your door seriously. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. All right. We can't leave without saying thanks to some people, and some people saying thank you to you. I want to bring on Susan as part of the OWID program, head of the programs in OWID Kenya, to share a bit of thanks to you and our wonderful audience. Lucy, are we good? Have we got Susan on the line?
Yes, we are good. And thank you so much, Busi. You've kept...
Susan, are you coming closer to the mic?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, are we there?
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. And it's lovely to be here. It's been very intriguing just listening. I can't believe it's been 2 hours already. They've passed so quickly.
Oh, we can hear.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I'm here.
So Ruth can see you.
Ruth can see me. Ruth, can you see me? Lovely. You are looking so young, and I'm wondering how you've kept yourself so young considering the challenges, and especially you were closed for 22 months. Yeah, and the challenges that come with a business. What would you say has kept you going and so young?
Oh, well, first of all, Sue, thank you for the compliment. I think I can say once again, it's grace. It's immense grace and favor over my life. And maybe I should once again give the credit to the genes. But over and above that, it's just the normal things. We know with stress, I think what is commonly known is that with stress, we have to do things that allow us to handle our stress in a creative way. I mean, to get rid of the stress and bring in good stress. So for one of the things that I do is I write. So in Nairobi, I produced plays. And so I've been writing a book. And so I just finished my first novel recently. And wow. That's a very wonderful outlet for me, because it allows me to once again think playfully, be creative, and nurture myself. Also, and I guess exercise. I know we all talk about it, but it really is important, and it helps to handle the stress. So that's what I would say.
Lovely. And there it is that you hit that you are right. You're a writer. That's very interesting to learn and just know about, that playfulness about a woman, which is very true. You've shared so many nuggets, and I'd like even the people who've joined us on this call, if they could just write, and anybody who wants a chance to say what they've learned on the call, I will give you an opportunity to do so. But we can also type in the chat. For me, it's been a lot of nuggets, from, courage for me was what stood out, being a woman, a Black woman in a foreign country, and a woman doing business, and, offering high-level services as you have been with Ikaya. You've continued to educate yourself like you're a moving dictionary. We've not had enough of you. Yeah. And you've been mentored, as you said. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your knowledge, and your invaluable insights have enriched our understanding of the challenges and opportunities that you've had. And even now, as we look to do inter-Africa trade, it just tells us that there's no easy way. We just have to have the courage to begin and to keep doing it. And to keep doing it and to keep doing it. And I appreciate Busi and Pauline also for this call came from a conversation that was had. And this just goes to emphasize, what we stand for, partnerships, and we've grown through partnerships as well. So thank you, Busi, and the team behind the scenes. It's been wonderful planning with you. It's been wonderful, and especially trying to synchronize the timing. And I would also want to say thank you to our participants who we had to change the timing. So I appreciate that you're here on this call. We had hoped to do it in the morning, as has been our culture in OWIT. So we thank you so much for being with us this evening, staying on and listening to the nuggets. And I'd like to read a few, if we have already. If you guys could kindly just put your nuggets. What have you learned from our Lady Ruth? If you could share. If you could share, I'd like to read some, at least 3, before we end the call. Blue has been behind the scenes a lot, and the team. Thank you so much, Blue, for coordinating things. And I wish you'd, if you're able to say hello to us, I'd like to give you like a second. You've been wonderful. You've been wonderful. Is she able to do that?
Yeah, but I can't. You can actually put this.
I am.
There you go. Hi, Blue.
Yeah, she's been so great.
She's wonderful. Tell us something, Blue.
Yes, we're here now.
I know it wasn't planned, but you could take a minute and just introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
I'd love to. Thank you, Stephen. So my name is Ruth Kamau. Of course, I'm with Kaiba. I am the founder of Blue Space Communications, which is a PR and marketing company. And of course, I've joined Kaiba as a project manager, managing the portfolio unique to creative industries. And it's been a pleasure working with you, of course, Celine. And I thank you for the opportunity. And it's been a great session. And thank you to Ruth. Ruth has been
absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, I've just been in the background, but I felt so safe, seeing the way you were all communicating so respectfully to each other. It already told me a lot about, who Owit is and the relationship that Boo and Boo have. So it's been really great. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Blue, and for coming in, unannounced. I know we didn't plan for this, but it was important to just say, to just give you recognition for the work that you've been doing in the background. Yes. And yeah, last but not least is just to extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who have participated in one way or another. And I would end the call also by just telling you a bit about myself. Susan Dirango is my name. In Owit, I'm the VP for programs. I help to curate the needs, bring together speakers like Ruth and anyone else who's a resource to help us grow as women and also grow our businesses. Yeah. But other than that, I run 2 organizations, one in the energy sector, where we do bulk petroleum products, and also something that is very close to my heart is that I help children and parents navigate the challenges of life and live an abundant life through impacting life skills. So thank you so much. I hope you're going to end by playing for us an African song, just like the way you began. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It would be nice. It's African Day. We're here to celebrate, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Really, really great.
Yeah.
Everyone online. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, hope to see you in person soon.
Yeah, definitely. When I come to the number,
yes, and I would like to ask our audience if you could unmute yourself for a second, then we'll take a picture. Just a minute.
Life is a journey. We are all traveling. Kure kwanda kavai koi. Here I have been traveling. Life is a journey. We are still traveling. Kure kwandito and I koi. We are all still traveling. Kanango mayorira na soterera iwe. Voda izirango mena sopembera. Upenye udukuduku wanawe. Recollect my friend. Kanango mayorira na soterera. Kanango mayorira na soterera iwe. Voda izirango mena sopembera. Upenye udukuduku wanawe. Break a leg, my friend. Kanango mayorira na soterera. Life is a journey. Yeah, we are all traveling. Kure kwanda kavai koi. Here I have been traveling.